Hello, YouTube. So it's a warm day in Chicago. I haven't shaved because coronavirus, but I thought I'd invite you in on a little puzzle I've been trying to think through. And here it goes. Let's say you're a Scotch beginner, right? Single malt noob. Um, you've had a few Scotches, a few single malts. You don't remember what they are because why would you? But you've enjoyed them, and now you've reached the point. You kind of know what to expect, where you're ready to take the plunge. You want to buy your own bottle of single malt Scotch whiskey to sort of work your way through and explore with. What do you buy? Okay, so um, your friends are all going to tell you, it's got to be Lagavulin 16, it's got to be Macallan or whatever. But those seem like way too expensive, right? So you're going to set a budget for yourself of $40, right? You know, um, not too much money, but not nothing. Um, so what maybe a little bit more with tax, but list price $40. That's your limit. That's still going to get you, at least in the Chicago market, 40 or 50 bottles to look at, right? Um, and realistically, someone faced with this scenario is either going to buy like a brand that they recognize, or they're just going to go with whatever gets shouted at them kind of the loudest. And I'm sure if you're watching this, like you're shouting names to the screen, and I know, I don't know, I understand. But let's see if we can try to be objective about this. Let's look for objective things that we can see on the label that will let us kind of pare things down. So let's ask for some very basic indications of quality that the person that the folks selling the stuff care about what's in the bottle. Let's require that whatever we're going to buy, it's got to have an age statement, right? And that it's bottled above 40% alcohol. Now, at least in the Chicago market, if you put those very modest requirements into place, and that's stuff we would expect and demand as a bare minimum for stuff that's a little more expensive, it's reasonable to look for it here, right? Um, you put those requirements in place, and you are down to 4 bottles of whiskey. Those bottles are in order. So we got the Tomatin 12-year-old and the Loch Lomond 12-year-old, both of which I'm actually rather fond of. The Loch Lomond is a hot mess, in particular, but neither one of those is one I would really hand to a beginner. They're a little bit weird. You also have Speyburn 10-year-old. Everyone forgets about Speyburn, but there it is all the time, sitting around $30. It's not profound whiskey, right? But it's solid. It punches above its weight. I think it actually embarrasses some of the big boys. Speyburn 10-year-old would not be a bad choice for this, but it wouldn't be my choice. My choice would be this guy, Glengoyne 10-year-old. I will tell you about why in a moment. So, some first tasting notes. Okay, so the nature of this whiskey is it's quite a, in its own way, it's both light natured and kind of edgy and intense at the same time, which means you can't really, it's hard to place this on the sort of normal spectrum that we use to treat whiskeys. Most of the time we think it's light and fruity and soft, or it's big and heavy and intense, and some or somewhere in between. Like this is not really fitting neatly into that classification. This is like a ballet dancer with a battle axe. So it smells light. It's very delicate, but at the same time, like there's a intense. The first thing you get, at least for me, is an intense minerality to this. Like it smells like rocks, rocks and black pepper. In some ways, it reminds me of like a certain white wines I've talked about in other reviews. But in this case, like almost like a Fino sherry, like a Manzanilla or something. I don't think that's what they've been using in the casks, but yeah, um, you're getting apples, not just sort of red apples and green apples, but also like cider apples, sort of sour apples, and also so there's something my wife introduced me to, um, which Lithuanians do. It's something called apple butter, which is basically kind of dried apple that's been sort of squished up into a sort of buttery mess, and you put it away for years and pull it out whenever you need a snack. You're kind of getting that. You're kind of getting sort of dried apple. Um, Maybe a little touch of like lemon lime soda, like 7 Up or something. Something floral, a little bit of dried grass on the taste. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sort of apple and dried apple. Ooh. Um, Pepper, lots of rocks again, very mineral driven, light but intense. Um, Dried apple, minerality, kind um, of some vanilla notes, like uh, coconut shavings, vanilla, vanilla ice cream, almost some cafe latte in there. Mm. But then there's the sherry influence as well, the pepper, dried fruit. All right. So what I'm going to do is, oh, I forgot my dropper. So I'm going to literally add a few drops with my fingertips. It's not very sanitary, but whatever. Let's see what this does. See, this for me is what puts this above everything else in the price range. The moment you add a little bit of water to this, it starts talking to you. And this is so the beginning we're talking about isn't someone who's never touched Scotch in their life. They kind of gotten used to it a little bit. They're in the place where they want to start a relationship. They want someone who's isn't just pleasant, but has some characters, willing to engage in dialogue, and that's what this is doing. It's so again, it's 10 years old, 43%. Also marked as natural color. It is chill filtered, but I mean, marking it natural color is alone is a step beyond. Find that else. Find someone else doing that for $40. Glengoyne Distillery is sort of on the border between the highlands and the lowlands, and it's a little bit infamous for that. I don't know. So the rest of the range, there's also a 12-year-old, which has a little bit more sherry influence. I don't actually think it's worth the price difference only for this little guy. 15-year-old, I remember being really impressed with. I had a couple of years ago. I don't know what it is like right now. There's also an 18, which I wasn't super fond of. There's a cask strength, which is just a monster. They're generally doing all kinds of good things over there. And like I said, $40, 43%. It's a real thing. Yeah. So what the water has done is kicked out just a ton of spices, cinnamon, clove, ginger, that sort of the coffee cafe latte thing again. But along with almost like a English breakfast tea note, like awesome tea in there. Some honey, of course. different kinds of honeys, maybe some forest honey mixed in with like wildflower honey, that kind of thing, and some pencil shavings. Weirdly enough, um, I don't know what mix of oak is in this. I get the sense there's some ex-bourbon casks, but also some probably some really fresh sherry casks in it. There's some, like, they may be using this bottling as a way of kind of softening up some meaner, feistier sherry casks they have on hand. Like it feels a little bit like someone added a little bit of Glenfarclas 105 into this, if you know what I mean. It's just it's like this is why we drink single malt Scotch, right? This is why we put out a premium, because this is acting like a sort of living, evolving thing. Now that I put a little bit of water into it, and you couldn't do that if it was just 40%. So on the palate now. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit creamier. Some orangey notes coming out. More sort of nice maltiness, kind of malted milk balls, that kind of thing. Almost some raisinettes in there, like more black pepper. Kind of sweetens up a little bit. The finish is a little bit clipped. Maybe that's due to the chill filtration. But $40, guys. Mm. Real whiskey. Real whiskey. Okay, so I'm going to give this a rating. And it's objectively speaking, it's not going to be all that high, but I need you. Okay, hey, eyes here, right? Listen to what I'm saying. I'm going to score this 84 out of 100. And you could say, okay, you could, but if you spent $20 more, like, you could get something better than this. That's true. Most human beings are not going to spend $60 on a bottle of whiskey. $40 is quite enough for most people. And within that price range, find me something better than this. Ripping, like, just fastball, million miles an hour, right over center plate. Better never a chance. Yeah, so this is Glengoyne isn't a huge distillery. Ian Cloud, who own it, they're independent. They're not a huge multinational corporation. I mean, they are, but they're not huge. So they don't have economies of scale to work with here, right? They're putting fresh casks into this. They're not. This is natural color, right? Remember, they're adding a little bit of strength, and they're still able to sell this for $40 and make a profit. What's everyone else's excuse? This is embarrassing. Practically everyone else in the price range. Like, until further notice, unless you are bottling a little bit stronger strength, like as long as this is out here for the price it's at, why would we bother buying you? And so that's kind of going to be my last word on this. This just feels like a malt. On the one hand, it's very well made, very well presented, at a good price. It feels like the sort of thing that beginners aren't going to be scared off by, but at the same time, like, you hand this to a veteran, and they're gonna appreciate that this is real whiskey. So, until someone makes a better case to me, that someone should be buying, I don't know, some non-age statement 40% thing out there, I'm going to say this is the at this very moment in 2020, this is the best whiskey under $40 you can get. Single malt Scotch whiskey, in any case. Thanks for watching. Cheers.